was passing by Delhi and Noida, where I had the privilege also of meeting Swami Chitrupanandji, Swami Nikhilanandji, and Swami Mitranandji, and receiving their blessings, receiving their wise counsel, meeting other devotees of the Chinmaya Mission Ashram. And my own interaction that day left a very deep impact on my mind. Hence, when Mr. Sachdev requested me to come here, while initially I was very hesitant because of the problem of fog in Delhi, the requirement to be back in Delhi today itself, I have question day tomorrow. Of course, one doesn't know whether Parliament will work or not. But we still have to be prepared. And I was in Ahmedabad last night attending a wedding. So between the two, I think it was very fortunate that I was able to get a flight late last night and truly feel honored and privileged that you have thought me fit to be a part of this global world leadership dialogue, particularly when you juxtapose it to the wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita. Thank you very much, sir, for giving me this opportunity. As I drove in here this morning, it was indeed a wonderful drive. The serene atmosphere in which this ashram is situated makes me recall a visit when I was a very young child to the ashram at Powai, which I would believe would be one of the first ashrams that Swamiji would have set up, right out on the top of the hill next to the Powai lake. And I do recall my own parents being very much influenced by Swamiji's leadership, Swamiji's spiritual discourse. My parents were very actively associated with the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, and Swami Chinmayanandji had provided leadership to the entire Hindu community when it was suffering from a number of social evils, evils of dowry, evils of a divided society. It was Swami Chinmayanandji, as the founding president of the Vishwa Hindu Parishad, who brought together all the different schools of thought of Hinduism on one stage. And way back in 1962, when he helped create the nucleus of the Vishwa Hindu Parishad, his objective was very noble in that he wished to see a unified society working for the benefit of mankind, working for the benefit of society, removing the problems that society, that the religion faced, and trying to converge various schools of thought of Hinduism into one aligned with goodness, into one aligned with his spirit of being a karma yogi, which he always was. And in that sense, I believe Swami Chinmayanandji's mission and its work will always be very important for India, for the entire country, and will always provide leadership. Not only spiritual leadership, but I believe leadership in creating leaders of tomorrow. And I do wish in the years to come to continue to be associated with the Chinmaya mission and benefit from your wise counsel. As you were just mentioning, Swamiji used to speak very often at the Kashi Hindu Vishwavidyalaya, the Banaras Hindu University as it is now called, where my father was a student all through the late 40s. And I believe Mahamana Malviya and Swami Chinmayanandji used to interact at that point of time. So I'm suspecting possibly that's where my father would have probably first come in touch with Swamiji. And because I remember hearing a lot about the Chinmaya mission in my growing up years. We'll be celebrating 100 years of Swami Chinmayanandaji's ascent to this world. And I'm sure the birth anniversary will be golden, but the 100 years, this century will be celebrated all over the country by all the missionaries, by all the followers of your mission. And I wish the anniversary year great success through 2015-16. Frankly, I find myself too small to be able to talk about leadership, and particularly in the context of the Bhagavad Gita and the lessons that one can take from the Bhagavad Gita. Lessons which one can show to the world, lessons which one can take inspiration from, and lessons which can then go across the world and show how powerful this document is, how powerful this Holy Granth is in showing the path to goodness and showing the path for future leaders. But as I was trying to work upon some of the verses, I myself realized the power of the Bhagavad Gita. We have always heard through the years that the Gita propagated that one should keep doing his duty without worrying about the fruits of his efforts. A Karma Yogi is expected to work selflessly, without ego, with full devotion, and not worry about achieving some meritorious result which benefits himself or herself. Not particularly focused in what it has in store for himself, but working towards a mission, working towards a goal selflessly. And in that sense, I think the Bhagavad Gita provides for all of humanity the realization that divine work can only be selfless work. And any work which is with a particular motive, and a motive which is beyond serving society, serving mankind, will always fall short. It is only when one can completely absorb himself in his work with divinity, without any ego, without any expectation for the self, that one can give back to society, that one can truly be inspired to be a leader. And in some sense, the world has witnessed in Paris and in the successful culmination of the COP21 in Paris late last night, true leadership. It has witnessed how 196 countries from all over the world can converge with different viewpoints, different ideas, different thoughts, with over 1,600 points of dissent amongst these 196 countries. And within a short span of 10 days, can come to terms with the biggest problem that the world is facing, that humanity is facing today, probably next only to terrorism, and converge with an agreement, with a document, with an understanding which reflects the shared concerns of all of humanity, which shows a roadmap, a path forward for all of us to show our concern, to demonstrate a sincere effort to protect the planet, and which can bring down 1,600 points of dissent to zero, to a completely aligned thinking. In fact, not the right place to speak specifically about the role of Prime Minister Modi and the leader of the Indian delegation along with the Indian team, Mr. Prakash Javadekar. But I was myself witness on the 30th of November when we were launching the International Solar Alliance, which was a brainchild of Prime Minister Modi. and jointly launched along with the French President Hollande, I was witness to the statesman-like leadership that India provided to the rest of the world. And I could see in the interactions that we had with President Obama, with President Hollande, with Prime Minister Abe, with Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel, also with the Prime Minister of Pakistan, Nawaz Sharif. One could very clearly see the world looking at India, the world watching India, and India living up to the expectations, providing a leadership not only to protect the interests of the developing world and the less developed countries, particularly in Asia and Africa and South America, but also balancing the deep concerns of the future of the next generation with what we call climate justice, equity, and fairness for all. And in that sense, I have absolutely no doubt in my mind in giving credit to the Bhagavad Gita, which has always inspired Prime Minister Modi, who has studied the Gita, who is a proponent, a follower of the Gita, who draws lessons from the Gita in his work. And I'll delve upon 3 or 4 chapters and verses in those chapters, and try to relate that to today's India, to today's leadership, to our world today, to show you how a good government, a government which believes in providing good governance, good future for its people, if it follows the path set out by the Gita, can deliver huge results, can deliver huge prosperity for its people. Of course, over the years, Mahatma Gandhi, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, several leaders, illustrious leaders who have led India, India's freedom struggle, India's growth path, have received strength, have received moral courage, inspiration, clarity of thought from the Bhagavad Gita. And I'm sure the India of today is a mixed bag of the good that the Bhagavad Gita was able to provide to many of our leaders, and also some of the evils which came into society, which have seeped into society, which if all of us together take it as a challenge, take it as a mission, we can all together work to rid India of those evils. In fact, if we all look at the ancient Indian texts, it's not as if evil did not prevail even in the mythological or the past. The world is bound to have evil, because it is only then that the fight against evil can be held and the right can prevail. The understanding of what is right can never be complete unless we face what is wrong. It is only when we fight the evil in society, what the wrongs in society, that we will be able to understand what was right, what is right for humanity. And in today's context, I think Bhagavad Gita provides several concepts of leadership. And one can understand how to manage stress better, how to conduct one's work better, how to focus on goals better, what a true inspirational leader is all about. What should one look for in a leader? How does one define a leader? How does one accept a person as a leader, as a mentor? All of this can be found in the Bhagavad Gita. And particularly some of the very powerful messages that Lord Krishna gave while reciting the various verses of the Gita have very, very interesting references to quality of leadership. If we look at chapter 3, verse 21, and I'll just read out the few lines in English. Who should secure the welfare of the world and how? The Gita says, whatever a great man does, that other men also do, imitate. Whatever he sets up as the standard, that the world, the people at large, follow. After all, that is exactly what defines leadership. The standards, the principles, the role model that a leader is what the other people will imitate, is what they will follow. And no matter what position a person holds, as long as the person holds a position, he certainly has a deep impact on the rest of society. They do follow what a leader does. There is a natural tendency to emulate a good leader, good or bad actually. And his values, his character, his vision is ultimately what will define his followers' vision. It is because Swami Chinmaya left behind some truly remarkable thoughts, a vision of a very strong and powerful and spiritual India, that his mission continues to carry forward that work under the leadership of new saints and new leaders that he had created while he was there. That the Chinmaya mission continues to grow from strength to strength. Whereas there have been many other saints and godly persons, many of whose thoughts did not have the same conviction, the same leadership values, and may not have received the approval, may not have received the kind of following that Swami Chinmayanandaji's mission has. So it's the character that defines a leader. It's his vision, whether he can really see long into the future, whether he can leave behind in the footprints of time a path which others can follow, which is worth emulating, which inspires people to follow that path. And that's why if you could possibly visualize, look back at Lord Krishna delivering this verse to Arjuna, whatever a great man does, that other men also do. Whatever he sets up as the standard, that the world follows. And I think it's a very, very powerful comment on leadership, something which every leader of society, in whatever walk of life he may be running a business, he may be in politics, he may be a spiritual leader, he may be a leader of a small housing society. He could be a student leader in school or college. He could be a trade union leader. In whatever capacity one works as a leader, and a leader need not necessarily have millions of followers. In a small group of 5 persons sitting across a table, one person naturally leads the dialogue, the discourse, and becomes a leader of that small conversation. But in every walk of life, in every sphere, in every position, the person who dons the mantle of a leader sets the standard, and in some sense, the rest of the world, the rest of the team tends to emulate that leader. And what the Bhagavad Gita tried to propagate was that basically a human being is an imitating animal. I mean, we are told, and I possibly believe it may be rightly so, that we come from the animal race, and we have evolved from the animal race. And if we look at a monkey anywhere, we are all familiar how they tend to imitate whatever you do. You run, they'll run. You bite your finger, they'll also bite their finger. And in some sense, a human being, a man, is considered to be a person who imitates, who follows. And in that sense, this particular verse is most ideally appropriate when one has to don the leadership role and one has to set the standard for his team to follow. In fact, it becomes onerous responsibility on the leader to lead by example, to lead by good behavior, to practice what one preaches. In fact, many times society loses faith in leaders of today because they don't practice what they preach. There's a different set of standards for the other person, and there's a different standard for himself or herself. Very often that has a very deep disillusionment in society and can have such a negative impact that the same leader who could otherwise have helped evolve a better future, a better society, then becomes a person who's the cause of deprivation or the cause of the evils that we see in Indian society today. This in a way also relates to karma, because our actions become the most important thing. How we act, how we behave. Somebody could jolly well ask, why do we touch the feet of the elders? It's a very small action. Many times done mechanically. Children, when they are taught to touch the feet of the elders, or when as a small 2-year, 3-year-old, probably I might have been taught, maybe initially it was just a mechanical exercise. But that action over the years imbued in a person a sense of respect, a sense of taking the person whose blessings you are seeking by touching his feet seriously, and then you emulate the person whose feet you are touching. So be it the parents, be it your guru, the teacher, it could be a spiritual guru, it could be a teacher in school or college, it could be a leader in any walk of life. When we touch the feet, it's only a very humbling experience. It's an experience that brings you back to Mother Earth, makes you understand what respect, what learnings you can receive from a leader. And in some sense, I personally believe this is truly a very powerful statement that Lord Krishna made in terms of a lesson for leadership. If we go to chapter 12, verse 13, it's with reference to those who are meditating upon the imperishable, the infinite. The Lord prescribes a certain mental and intellectual conduct which forms the direct means to perfection. And Lord Krishna says, he who hates no creature, who is friendly and compassionate to all, who is free from attachment and egoism, balanced in pleasure and pain, and forgiving. In some sense, all the gurus here reflect this philosophy. They have given up selflessly all the material pleasures of life to serve society. Which is why they inspire us. Which is why you and I, ordinary mortals, feel like following them. Pick up every thread of word that we hear from them. See their behavior. See how selflessly, without any ego of clothing, of footwear, of expense, of money, material wealth, how selflessly they have given up all the material pleasures of life. They have no ego whether one is senior or the other. They have no ego of their own succession, their future, their own following. It doesn't matter when Swami Chinmaya may have started talking. He may have had barely 4 or 10 or 20 followers. Probably he never visualized he'll have millions of followers in 300 centers around the world. He came out selflessly. No ego, no expectation. He hated nobody but loved all of humanity. He would embrace whoever came to him with whatever good or bad feelings. After all, in the maybe 70, 80, 60 years ago when he started, 70 years ago when he started preaching, those were difficult times. India was not even independent. And he reached a section of society which is steeped in material pleasures. In fact, the kind of following that I have seen Swami Chinmayanand have over the years, the kind of people who used to visit the Powai complex, the ashram at Powai. Here we have international delegates who have come in from other parts of the world. Were all very highly intelligent, coming from very good families, well educated, generally the privileged sections of society. And to appeal to that section of society and to give the message of becoming selfless, of becoming immersed in spiritualism, of leaving your ego aside, not worrying whether you come into the ashram in a Mercedes Benz, a Fiat car, or a second-class railway train. Not concerned with the fabric of the Guru's clothing or the quality of his footwear or food or living abode, but inspired by high moral values, the standards that they have set for themselves and for their followers. I think this detachment from material pleasures is what an inspirational leader in every walk of life can give to society. In fact, the political leadership also, if it can detach itself from material pleasures, from material belongings, from material wealth, can truly serve society. In fact, I'll just draw upon the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, which has inspired me in my life and many of the leaders of the government of the day today, since the Bharatiya Janata Party's main leadership comes from, a large part of the leadership comes from its moorings, its anchor in the teachings, in the moral values that the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh gave us. The leadership of the RSS is completely made up of pracharaks, selfless workers who have not married, who have given up their families, given up all material wealth. In fact, Swami Chinmayanandji's closest colleague, the late Ashok Singalji, who passed away only last month, came from a family of billionaires. And I'm talking of dollar billionaires. His family comes from is a family of billionaires, extremely rich, very well-to-do. Mr. Ashok Singhal was an engineering student, I think 1 year senior to my father, and they were extremely close. And he gave up the entire wealth of his family, the entire share of his wealth of his family, to serve the cause of society. And millions of pracharaks of the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh in the last nearly 90 years, just like the saints and swamis of Chinmayanand Mission, have given up family, have given up very lucrative careers only to serve society. In my young days, I used to argue with them that why do you do this? What is the meaning of that? How do you think you can serve society better? Does this not lead to a kind of an ego that you are superior to us who are with families, who are coming from within a family with material desires and pleasures? And I remember in the young days when my own thoughts were being formed, how inspirational it was to interact with these leaders when they would teach you your own value systems, when they would imbibe in you the power that each individual has to become a leader of society and then to give back to society selflessly. And they never impose, a true karma yogi never imposes anything on another person. It's a very beautiful relation of a shishya and a guru, where a selfless guru, without material pleasures or ego or any desire to impose himself, gets the follower into a different trance, into a new understanding of value systems and his life through example. And that is what I believe is a true leader's role in the making of our lives. I have personally benefited immensely from such selfless workers. Of course, Lord Krishna called them people who hate no creature. I do believe that is an extreme form of spiritualism or of giving up everything in life, which only the very, very highly blessed have. And I believe if each one of us can even get a small portion of that level of spirituality, where we hate no creature, we are friendly to all, we are understanding and compassionate to our colleagues, to the rest of society, who are free from, if we can become free from attachments and be satisfied with what we have, I think we can truly have a happy life. Very often I tell friends from Mumbai, where I come from, and Delhi, where I now live, that the people in the villages may be much, much poorer. They're tilling their land in a small village, barely get good health care or education, but possibly have far more happiness, far more joy of life than we ordinary mortals who are struggling in this rat race that we have all got into. And in that sense, it will be great that if each one of us benefits from the wise counsel of the sages who have given up their own material happiness to serve society, for which I think all of us shall ever be grateful to you, Swamiji, and to all of you. There is a big message of unity in the Bhagavad Gita in chapter 18, verse 20. There's a threefold type of knowledge. That by which one sees the one indestructible reality in all beings, undivided in the divided. Know that knowledge as sattvic. We all think we are all very knowledgeable. When I completed studying law and completed my chartered accountancy, I thought I had become extremely knowledgeable. Many of us here, after a lot of study, after a lot of effort, PhDs and huge degrees, nationally, internationally, feel we have become repositories of knowledge. But I think knowledge can never be complete. All of us are living in a perpetual state of ignorance. There's so much more to learn. Preparing myself to come here today has been a great learning for me. I possibly always took the Bhagavad Gita for granted. I never related it to a leadership role that I am now required to do in my job. I possibly never realized that every letter, every word of the Bhagavad Gita, and one could just flip on any page here, read it, and then relate to it in the context which is most appropriate for oneself. I mean, I'm just flipping through I've come to chapter 11, verse 38. I'll just read it out. I've not even read it before. You are the primal God, the ancient Purush. You are the supreme refugee of this universe. You are the knower, the knowable, and the abode supreme. By these the universe pervaded, O being of infinite forms. Now let's try and see what we could relate to that in our today's context. In the most contemporary context, one could so easily relate verse 38 to climate change. After all of us in this world, while we are finite in our lifetime, we also have a duty towards the infinite. What we are going to leave behind as a polluted world, as a planet full of greenhouse gases, and leave behind a planet which is not going to be safe for the future generations. And if one was to read this verse in the context of COP21 or climate change, it gives a completely new meaning to the effort that has gone on in Paris in the last few days and the months and years of preparation before that. And I had a small role to play in that preparation and therefore realized the serious impact and implication of that preparation. Of course, I have a very awkward duty to perform. I am Minister for Coal and the Minister for Renewable Energy. So I am the polluter and I have to resolve the pollution problem. And in some sense, the Bhagavad Gita is all about such challenges. It asks Arjuna to accept these challenges, do what is right, work with a focus and a goal in front of him, and very often also do something which on the face of it looks wrong. If you have to fire an arrow on the Bhishma Pitama, it's something intrinsically not acceptable to you. But you have to do it, it's your duty. Duty prevails over right and wrong at some points of time. So I will have to pollute, I will have to use coal, I'll have to provide energy access at affordable prices to the teeming millions who 68 years after independence don't even have a basic amenity like electricity. I don't think any of us in this room have faced the pain of living years and years and generations without electricity. I don't think we can even imagine a life without electricity. But there are still 300 million people in India who don't have electricity and who cannot afford clean energy and the price at which that is available. So I will have to pollute. It is my duty to give them affordable energy. But I will also have to be a conscious world citizen. And by me, I mean India. I'm sorry I'm using it's only in the context of India. India will have to provide energy to its people while simultaneously working to overcome this problem and gradually move towards a green planet, towards a planet which ensures a carbon neutral world. And simultaneously both will work towards the ultimate goal of not only giving affordable energy access to every citizen in this country and enough energy to provide jobs for our people, a better life for our people, meet the aspirations of our people, but also at the end of it, achieve the right, which is a clean planet, a green planet, a planet which we leave behind for the next generation, which is worth living in. And that's in some sense how the Bhagavad Gita evolves as Lord Krishna keeps guiding Arjuna through the pain of inconvenient truths towards the duty of convenient action. Inconvenient Truth is the book Vice President Al Gore had written when he highlighted the problems of climate change. In fact, only last evening in Ahmedabad, I was on the phone call with him, and he has made some assurances and some very, very nice gestures towards India, particularly recognizing our massive roll-up in solar energy that we are planning to do from 2.5 gigawatts that India was when Prime Minister Modi took charge to 100 gigawatts, growth of 40 times in 7 years. And Al Gore, Vice President Gore was complimenting that and also affirming his own support for that. But Vice President Al Gore had raised the inconvenient truth, whereas simultaneously the Karmayogi Prime Minister Modi, then Chief Minister of Gujarat, articulated his thoughts as convenient action. That while we recognize the inconvenient truth, our duty is to work and act fast towards solving the problem, towards resolving the big crisis that the world faces. And therefore, any part, whether this one or I go back to verse 20, chapter 18, which largely talks about unity in diversity. The world has got diverse interests, diverse compulsions, diverse objectives, but it still stands united with certain common goals. The goal to completely eliminate poverty, the goal to create a happy society, the goal to have literacy for every person on earth. In the year 2000, there were the Millennium Development Goals that the United Nations had put forth. Only in September earlier this year, the entire world community got together and finalized the Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, for the next 15 years up to 2030. And in that, the whole world gets united, despite so much diversity. They are developed countries, they are developing countries, they are the least developed countries. Everybody is united in these Sustainable Development Goals and the objective to achieve those goals. And that is truly what Indian culture and tradition and heritage is all about. We respect all, as we believe that everybody has a right to the resources of the world, has an equal right. Everybody did not get the same opportunity, but everybody has the same right. And that is reflected in what the Bhagavad Gita says when it's talking of unity in diversity. We have to work for the well-being of all of humanity and not sections of humanity. Lastly, I'd like to draw your attention to the key of excellence. It's on chapter 2, verse 47, where Lord Krishna is speaking to Arjuna, and he says, "Thy right is to work only, but never to its fruits. Let the fruit of action be not thy motive, nor let thy attachment be to inaction." Don't get attached to inaction. Because you are hoping to act only for a fruit, some result which benefits you, and if that eludes you, don't get attached to inaction. Continue to work relentlessly, work passionately, do your duty. Don't fail in doing your duty, irrespective of the results of your action, giving you the fruits for which you have set out. Your right is to only work, work, and work only. You don't have a right to the fruits of your action. I think it's a very, very deep message for all of us. Obviously, in other verses, he's talking about your duty being towards good. Your duty being towards what is right. But your duty is not only to achieve an end. Your duty is selflessly working towards that end without hoping to receive the fruits of your actions. Rewards may come and go, results may be good or bad. Sometimes we may even suffer in conducting our duty. But if our focus is on our goal, is on our mission, you can never go wrong. Very often fear of failure, fear of criticism holds you back, does not allow you to perform to the best of your ability. It blocks creativity. It does not allow you to excel. And I'll just draw upon a small example which relates directly to me. When I'm setting targets, when I first talked about producing 1 billion tons of coal in India, so that India is never short of coal and we don't have to import thermal coal, or when I talked about doing 100,000 megawatt of solar energy, 1 lakh megawatt, 100 gigawatt of solar energy, or 1,75,000 megawatt of renewable energy within 7 years, which, ladies and gentlemen, is the world's largest renewable energy program in such a short duration of time ever embarked upon by any country. They were very, very daunting tasks. Everybody kept telling me, you will fail. It's near impossible to achieve these type of targets. You are saying you'll give 24/7 power to all. Prime Minister said by 2022, you are saying you'll do it by 2019. Prime Minister gave you 1,000 days on 15th August 2015 to reach electricity to those 18,452 villages who even today, 68 years after independence, don't even have electricity in their villages. Prime Minister gave you 1,000 days. You're so foolish. You're saying I'll do it in 730 days. Why are you doing that? But unless we challenge ourselves, unless we are willing to go that extra mile, how will the creativity of us ordinary people, how will we excel and ordinary people give extraordinary results? After all, when I gave my report card of the first year in May earlier this year, and my first 18 months in November last month, in both those months, while I can draw satisfaction that we have created historic records in all the 3 sectors, power, renewable energy, coal. We've done things which never happened in the history of India. But I'm continuously unhappy, I'm continuously not satisfied. I'm always in a state of flux, in a state of anger with myself that this is inadequate. I still need to do more. We still need to, there's so much more to do that 24 hours are going to be insufficient. And that continuous challenging of yourself, your own creativity, your own ability to perform, will truly give you results, will truly empower your entire team, are truly the hallmarks of our duty as a leader, which I do hope will help all of us mortals, individually and collectively, give extraordinary results in the service of society, in our own mission, in our own work, whatever each one of us has set out to do. I'm sure if we focus our full attention, with the right intention, with a commitment, with a passion, we will achieve excellence. I think I've over-exceeded my time, Swamiji, please pardon me for that. But this interaction and my own little bit of learnings to prepare myself for this very important World Leadership Dialogue has truly been an education for me, Swamiji. I don't know with what words to thank you and the Chinmaya mission, particularly Anil Sachdeva, who when I was vacillating and trying to give excuses not to come here, was relentlessly pursuing getting me here. And then he used the Brahmastra also. He managed to talk to one of your own followers, Mr. Keval Noria, who is not only related to me, but to my mind is truly a Karma Yogi and one of the finest management gurus India has ever produced. And that one phone call from Mr. Noria was enough to get me over here. But I can only say, I'll have to go back and thank him for this wonderful opportunity, and I shall always be eternally grateful to you for allowing me to come here to meet all of you, to receive your blessings, and I do hope to continue to learn from you, sir. I'm going to self-gift myself this Bhagavad Gita, if you don't mind. I normally am not very spiritual, and I don't accept any mementos, as Swamiji will confirm when I visited your sacred ashram in Noida. But I really found this truly very simple, very, very easy to understand and relate to. So I am accepting this gift on behalf of all of you. Thank you very much.
The pleasure is all ours indeed.